If you're a Canadian thinking of moving to Norway, there's a subtle truth you won't find in travel guides. Norway doesn't disappoint you loudly, it does so quietly. It's not about dramatic failures, but a slow realization that life here runs on a different, almost invisible rhythm. The climate, nature, and values all feel familiar, almost like a refined Canada. That's the trap. Familiarity makes you underestimate the real adjustment. You expect a soft landing, but the challenge is in the subtle daily differences. My first days in Oslo felt perfect, but beneath the surface, I was unprepared for the unspoken rules shaping every moment. That's the quiet disappointment, realizing you must adapt in ways you never expected. Before moving, I thought the transition would be mostly paperwork and logistics. Canada and Norway look similar on paper. Wealthy, nature-loving, socially minded. I expected to adapt to new systems, not rebuild my daily habits from scratch. The real shock was how even simple routines, like grocery shopping, became learning experiences. It wasn't the big things, but the million tiny details that made life feel foreign. Every small task, from shopping to chatting with neighbors, required unlearning Canadian habits. That's when I realized the real move was psychological, not just physical. On spreadsheets, Canada and Norway seem like siblings, vast, polite, nature-obsessed. I thought my Canadian manners would fit right in, expecting a seamless transition, but the similarities are only surface deep. Norwegian politeness is reserved, shown through actions, not words. My friendly Canadian chattiness sometimes felt out of place. The disconnect isn't dramatic. It's a series of tiny, silent moments that slowly erode your confidence. You realize you're speaking the same language but living by different rules, friend. My first real lesson came in a Norwegian grocery store. What was a mindless chore in Canada became a puzzle. Coin for the cart, weigh your own produce, decipher unfamiliar labels. Even bagging groceries felt like a high-speed test. That hour taught me more than any guidebook. Thriving here means relearning every tiny routine. Efficiency and order come with unwritten expectations. To fit in, I had to unlearn a lifetime of Canadian habits. The real adjustment was in the details, not the big differences. After that grocery store shock, I saw it everywhere. Norway runs on an unspoken social contract. Life is structured, predictable, and everyone knows the rules except newcomers. Plans are made in advance and kept. Spontaneity is rare. This structure feels efficient, but also inflexible. Respect is shown by sticking to the plan, not by adapting on the fly. The real challenge isn't language or paperwork, but learning this invisible contract. You're not just moving countries. You're signing up for a new way of living, one quiet moment at a time. The biggest shock isn't the weather or the language, it's the invisible structure of Norwegian life. In Canada, flexibility is normal. In Norway, order is everything. Schedules, processes, and unspoken expectations shape every interaction. At first, the structure feels refreshing. Trains run on time, life is calm. But over time, the same order can feel confining, like a cage you didn't see being built. The social contract values group harmony over individual spontaneity. Adapting means learning to thrive within this blueprint, not just admiring it from afar. When I moved to Norway, I learned that making friends meant scheduling weeks in advance, even for coffee. Spontaneity just wasn't part of the culture. Here, your calendar is sacred. Every meeting, even casual ones, is carefully planned. Once I embraced this, I found the social doors in Norway finally began to open. The Norwegian obsession with structure extends far beyond social planning. It really permeates every official interaction, from dealing with the bank to registering with the government. There is a process for everything, and that process must be followed to the letter. There are no shortcuts, no exceptions, and honestly, very little room for creative problem solving. In Canada, if you run into a bureaucratic snag, you can often find a sympathetic person who is willing to bend the rules slightly or find a workaround. You can explain your unique situation and appeal to a sense of common sense. That approach does not work in Norway. The system is the system. I remember trying to open a bank account, a process that I thought would be straightforward. However, I was missing one specific document, a minor piece of paper that seemed redundant. I explained my situation to the bank employee, assuming they could make a small exception or suggest an alternative. The response was a polite but firm no. The rules required that specific document, and without it, the process could not move forward. There was no discussion, no negotiation. It was a dead end until I could produce exactly what was on the checklist. This unwavering adherence to process is what makes the country so efficient. It ensures fairness and predictability for everyone. But, when you are the one on the outside of the system trying to get in, that same efficiency can feel incredibly restrictive and impersonal. It can feel like you are interacting with a computer algorithm rather than a human being. The system is not designed to accommodate outliers or unusual circumstances. It is designed for consistency, and if your situation does not fit neatly into the predefined boxes, you will face a wall of polite, unyielding resistance. Over time, this can be mentally exhausting. You learn that improvisation gets you nowhere. You learn to have all your documents in perfect order before you even attempt to start a process. You learn that arguing or explaining your special case is a waste of breath. For someone coming from a culture that values flexibility and a can-do attitude, this can be a difficult adjustment. The initial feeling of calm efficiency slowly gives way to a sense of being constrained. You begin to miss the messy, imperfect, but ultimately more human flexibility of home, realizing that order and structure come at a hidden cost. Arriving in Norway, most Canadians, myself included, feel a wave of optimism and excitement. Every small victory, like finding an apartment, feels huge. You're in the honeymoon phase, exploring, marveling at the beauty, and enjoying the calm. But this deceptive calm is just a shield, hiding what daily life in Norway truly feels like. The honeymoon phase does not end with a bang. It dissolves slowly, almost imperceptibly. It happens when the big settling in tasks are done. Your apartment is furnished, your paperwork is filed, and your name is on the mailbox. The project is over. Now you just have to live. This is when you take off the tourist goggles and start seeing the country not as a destination to be explored, but as a place to exist day in and day out. The grand adventure of moving abroad gives way to the mundane reality of daily life, and that is when the slow surprises begin to creep in. The first thing you notice is the repetition. The same quiet commute on the same punctual train, the same limited selection at the local grocery store, the same reserved interactions with neighbors. The novelty that once made everything exciting begins to wear off, replaced by a predictable routine. The beautiful, serene quietness that you once cherished can start to feel like silence. The efficient, orderly systems that once felt so refreshing can start to feel rigid and inflexible. The things you loved as a tourist are not always the things you love as a resident. For me, the shift began with small things. I started to miss the random, friendly chats with strangers in a coffee line that are so common in Canada. I grew tired of having to plan every single social interaction weeks in advance. I found myself annoyed by the strict opening hours of shops, especially on Sundays when almost everything is closed. None of these were deal breakers. None of them were catastrophic failures. They were just small, persistent paper cuts. Each one was insignificant on its own, but together they started to create a sense of low-grade, constant friction against my ingrained Canadian habits. This is the part of the experience that is hard to prepare for, because it is not about concrete problems. It is about a feeling. It is the slow realization that the cultural operating system here is fundamentally different from your own. The honeymoon phase is fueled by discovery and difference, but long-term happiness is often built on comfort and familiarity. As the initial excitement fades, you are left to confront the real day-to-day challenge. Can you adapt your internal wiring to match the rhythm of the country you now call home? The answer to that question reveals itself slowly, one small surprise at a time. The expat experience isn't one big crisis, it's a slow drip of small frustrations. It's the quiet weight of daily inconveniences, like bureaucracy, high prices, or feeling left out socially. Each is a tiny drop, but together, they quietly wear you down, making even the best places feel exhausting over time. In Canada, social life is casual and spontaneous. Plans are made last minute, and friendships grow quickly from chance encounters. In Norway, it's the opposite. Social life is structured, planned well in advance, and relationships take time to build. Canadians' friendly openness can feel intrusive in Norway, where reserved politeness is the norm. It's not about warmth, but method, and that difference can leave newcomers feeling lost. I'll never forget my first invitation to a Norwegian's home. It felt like a breakthrough, a real sign of social acceptance. The dinner was set 3 weeks in advance, which surprised my Canadian brain. In Norway, invitations are significant, planned with intention, and punctuality is a sign of respect. The evening was formal and structured, with calm conversation and unspoken rules. Here, patience is key. Friendship builds slowly, layer by layer, on a Norwegian timeline. Making friends in Norway isn't about waiting for casual invites, it's about joining in, the Norwegian way. Norwegians connect best through clubs, teams, and volunteer groups. Shared activities are the secret backdoor to friendship. There's a club for everything. Find one that interests you and show up week after week. That's how I found real connection, by joining a hiking group and letting friendships grow naturally. When Canadians research moving to Norway, the first thing they see is the legendary cost of living. We brace for sticker shock, $30 pizzas, $10 lattes, and sky-high rent. But the real shock isn't one big expense. It's the high baseline cost of everything, every day. In Norway, there's no bargain tier. Everything has a high, non-negotiable price. The financial pressure comes from a steady stream of small, costly jabs you can't avoid. Once you settle in, the true costs of living in Norway reveal themselves, not in luxuries, but in the unavoidable, recurring expenses of daily life. Electricity, heating, and lighting are essential, especially during long, dark winters, and bills can be shockingly high. Transportation is another major expense, whether you rely on public transit or own a car. Even basic groceries cost far more than you expect, with few discounts or budget options. These relentless, unavoidable costs quietly erode your savings month after month. In Norway, it's not one big expense, but 1,000 small ones. Transit, groceries, bills that slowly drain your finances. Each cost seems manageable, but together, they create constant pressure. After a year, you realize your savings are far less than expected. High living standards and high costs are two sides of the same Norwegian coin. For introverts and planners, Norway is a peaceful haven. Here, routine and predictability are valued, and deep one-on-one connections thrive. The quiet, reserved culture feels safe and genuine, not isolating. Life runs on time, rules are clear, and everyone respects your space. If you recharge in nature and cherish order, you'll feel right at home in Norway. Norway is a paradise for true outdoor enthusiasts, those who find joy in every season, from rain to snow. Here the wilderness is your playground, and Friluftsliv, open-air living, is a way of life. But thriving here takes realism. The people who succeed know the trade-offs and choose Norway for its unique rhythm and values. If you're a pragmatic outdoor lover, you'll feel right at home. Moving to Norway from Canada isn't an upgrade, it's a trade. You exchange Canadian flexibility and social warmth for Norwegian structure, stability, and calm. It's not about which country is better, but which is better for you. If you're seeking structure and nature, Norway may feel like home. But if you're running from something, it will disappoint. The real question, which country's imperfection can you live with more happily?